Hey everybody, I'm Tommy and you're on the boat. How are you folks? If you've never done one of these before, this is fun. This is Ask Me Anything. We cover a lot of true crime, but I will answer any questions you want. Since a bunch of you don't know who I am, this kind of actually makes this a little bit more interesting because a lot of my story, most of the people on the boat know, but we got a lot of brand new people. Let's start at the very top. CBK69 says, how did Sam Haskell commit suicide in the Twin Towers Correctional Facility? And why did you start using heroin? Who the hell is Sam Haskell? I'm kidding. Sam Haskell, he's got some ties to Hollywood. His dad at one point, I think, was the CEO of some big pageant. It might be Miss America. It was something like that. And his mom was a former Miss somebody down south, Mississippi, maybe? Former Mississippi. He was accused of killing his wife and his in-laws. If I'm wrong on that, someone will correct me, but I'm pretty sure that's what it was. And allegedly, he was on some kind of supervision watch in the Twin Towers. He wasn't. According to what I remember reading, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on this thing, but he left a suicide note, which means he had a pen, he had paper, and he allegedly had his cell window covered. If he was in an observation cell, they would have seen him doing that instantly. They found him at 4:30 in the morning on doing a walk. They didn't go to say, why the hell is this guy covering his window? There's no reason to cover your window if there's a camera in your cell, right? He was doing that so people from the outside wouldn't look in. And you can cover your window. It's not illegal to cover your window as long as you leave a gap about this big at the top. But if you're using the restroom, that people are allowed to put that up for brief periods of time. The fact that the information came out the way it did would lead me to believe that he was not actually on in observation. Probably should have been. He was supposed to appear in court. If it wasn't the next day, it was within a couple of days. I'm going from memory, so if I'm wrong, cut me a little bit of slack. But he was getting ready to appear to see if there was enough evidence to proceed in the case. It was gruesome, as I remember. They found a torso in California, somewhere near Encino or something, in a dumpster that turned out to be that of his wife. He had butchered these people, like literally butchered these people, allegedly. But he left a suicide note that talked about his 3 kids or 4 kids or something like that, and said they were his best friends and he would miss them. Will, thank you so much. People go over and smack the subscribe button on Will because he does some very interesting stuff. Very similar to the kind of stuff that I do. Why did I start using heroin? Because I was no longer able to continue to use OxyContin. And I was one of the Sackler kids. I was one of those guys that they told me that OxyContin was going to be great. I had nothing to worry about, and only 4% of people got addicted to it. And I was taking 12 OxyContin 80s a day by prescription. When they cut that off, the insurance company said, we're not paying for that anymore. I got really, really sick. And they said, well, you can go to a methadone clinic, which sounded to me like a junkie. And someone said to me, oh, man, you can smoke opium. It'll do the same thing. The opium, of course, was black tar heroin, and I was too stupid to know that. And by the time I realized what I was doing, I had a habit that I quite simply could not quit. And it took away all of the pain in my life, pain that I didn't realize I had from childhood and things like that. And pretty quickly, you can get very out of control. And I did it for 30 years. Why wouldn't the psychiatrist trying to get Nick Reiner on the proper medicine would not just put him on the meds that he was that were working? Weight gain is not a problem in jail. You'd be surprised how guys feel about things that we would not consider a problem in jail. There are guys that will not take drugs in jail because it messes with their junk, right? They can't get an erection. Why do you need an erection in jail? But these are things that some guys may disagree with you on as far as the weight gain and all of that. However, that being said, we're assuming now that the Twin Towers seamlessly got a hold of the people on the street. They were willing to turn over his medical file and all of that jazz. Whether or not that all will come to fruition at any kind of speed is not something that usually happens. I remember trying to get my medical file sent in, and it is a difficult process at best. So, and we don't know that they're not doing that. He still could be refusing this. People will say you can absolutely be forced to take your medication, and you can, but not by them just going, all right, you got to take this. There's a whole process. You got to go into court. You got to hop through a bunch of hoops, and they may just be trying to coax him into taking stuff. We don't know, and we probably won't for a while. But they may be trying to get him to take that. We're not sure. Tommy, why on earth did Monique marry her killer when his ex said he was weird off the bat? Didn't she get that vibe too? That's something we don't know. You would think so, but here's the thing. Most people who are abusive to women or abusive to other people, hey, Lisa, good to have you here. They're not that way out the gate, right? They put their best foot forward. When you meet somebody, especially if you're meeting them in like an online thing, you meet them on Match.com or you meet them on something like that. we live in a different world than we used to. You're not meeting people in bars. You're not meeting people at cocktail parties. A lot of times you're meeting these people in a forum where you put out a blog, right? A little intro about who you are. I like long walks on the beach. I'm sensitive. I think puppies are fantastic. And you sell yourself, right? And she's doing the same thing. So a lot of times it takes a while for that mask to slip a little bit and for the person to see who you really are. But I would imagine we'll learn more of that as this comes out, but we shall see. Still no power, Tommy Bird. You need to move to a developing country. Here in Ecuador, our power outages are shorter. So yeah, with the heroin thing, people say all the time, you're too smart to have gotten addicted to heroin. I assure you that intelligence has nothing to do with any of that. Some of the smartest people on earth get addicted to drugs. And I'm not as smart as people give me credit for. I'm a very good communicator, willing to say the things I'm good at. There's a lot of other stuff, critical thinking and things that I may lack a little bit of snap on, right? So here's something real quick while everybody is waiting. And do me a favor, put a bunch of Q's before the question or put a bunch of C's before a comment, because if by any chance anyone sees this, now if I don't put the name Reiner or I don't put something that is very true crime-ish and clickbait it, we don't get a lot of people popping in. I'm willing to do that because I would like to be able to connect with you guys and answer some questions and really kind of get into things deeper. But today, an interesting thing happened, and I don't know that everyone is aware of it, but there has been an awful lot of really cool stuff moving forward with the Baldoni case with Blake Lively and her viciously satanic husband. That guy's all bad. But there's a lot that's coming out, these text messages and things that are being released. Today, in the Southern District of New York, they had a hearing where they were going to spell out why this case shouldn't move forward, why the case against Baldoni should just be thrown out. They listened to everything today. It's going to take a minute before they rule on this, but I think they got a chance of getting this thrown out. If you follow this case at all, when Baldoni tried to countersue for $400 million, his case was thrown out. The press didn't tell you why very effectively the case was thrown out. You can't countersue somebody until the first lawsuit is over. They weren't saying your case has no merit. They were saying, procedurally, you can't do this. Doesn't mean that if hers doesn't get thrown out, he can't drop the next day and hit her with a $400 million lawsuit. And that could happen. She's an evil broad. And I'm not saying allegedly. Read the text messages. And I'll tell you something else. Taylor Swift ain't looking too good in this either, which is a bit of a bummer if you're a fan of Taylor Swift. I'm not, so it doesn't bother me. And I hate the mean girl thing. I really do. It drives me nuts. And this is a mean girl, right? For real. Blake Lively is a mean girl. There's a lot out there that you can go and look where she just shits on people on camera. It's not fun to watch, man. Tommy, if you could name it, what is the memory of your life that gives you the most joy? Wow, it's a really interesting question. Obviously, the birth of my kids was a really big deal. That's a really big one. I had a dinner down here with my girl. Reese was down here, and we were sitting in an Italian restaurant having dinner. And I just realized as I was sitting there that this was absolutely one of those moments where I thought, if I wouldn't change where I'm at right now for any other time. Like I wouldn't have gone anywhere. I wouldn't have wanted more money. I wouldn't have wanted a limo. I wouldn't have wanted to be anywhere other than where I was, and that's a rarity. Prior to that, I was hiking once in Utah to go skiing, and they were going to film it. And I was in Little Cottonwood Canyon at a place called the Y Couloir. And a couloir, by definition, is a place that you got to hike up in order to ski down. You're not going to get there by helicopter. You're not going to get there by lift. You literally have to hike up what you're coming back down. It's called the Y because when you get up this very thin, narrow chute to the top, it goes off in two directions. And it was a couple of snowboarders and a couple of skiers. And the skiers went to one side and the snowboarders went to the other. And we started hiking in the middle of the night. And they were going to film it in the morning. And about halfway up, it started to snow. So thick you weren't going to be able to film it, but we continued to hike in hopes that maybe that would blow off because we were getting paid to do this. And eventually we hiked above the snowstorm. We popped up and all of a sudden it was blue sky and sun, but this gray cloud of where the snow was coming from as far as the eye could see. And it was spiritual. It was one of those moments where you just feel God. It was so unbelievable. And I would pop my head back down. You could see the snow and I'd pop back up. And you see the blue sky. And that moment right there was pretty damn good. It really was. Hi, as a non-American, can I ask you, please, if there are two types of prisons in the U.S.? Are they separate federal prisons and state prisons, or are they exactly the same thing? They are very different. The rules are different. In state prisons around the country, you can usually buy a television set. You can have all kinds of little things in your cell. The feds used to do that as well. And then they passed something called the Zimmerman Law, where they got rid of all that. So in the feds, it is far more restrictive. People, hear club fed. One of the biggest jokes when you get to prison, someone will go in and go, "Hey, did they tell you the feds was going to be better? They lied to you. The feds suck. You don't get in the state facilities, you get 50%, 60% of your sentence you have to do. In the feds, you have to do 85% of your sentence. It's far more restrictive. Usually probation means you're not going to prison. In the federal system, probation means you just finished prison. Now we're going to put you on probation when you get on the street. So when Sean Combs leaves prison, he has to do 5 years of babysitting. And it's a very difficult process to get through. It causes a much higher number of recidivists, people going back to prison. It's just very different. And they have a budget in the feds that is different than the state. Doesn't make it nicer, just means there are more cops looking at you, more investigating going on. If you get caught with a cell phone in the state system, you're going to go to the hole. They might transfer you. If you get caught with a cell phone in the feds, it's considered an escape tool, and you can get 4 more years in prison for it. It's just very different. Now, why do you go to the feds instead of the state? It really big crime. So if you're selling drugs and it's over 500 grams, right? So you're getting up around the 1 pound mark, then it's going to become a federal offense. If you get caught with firearms in the commission of a felony, the feds very often pick those up, although not all the time. Bank robbery is a federal offense. Kidnapping is a federal offense. Anything where you cross state lines to commit a crime. If you molest a kid, you're going to the state. If you're doing child pornography, because it's going like this out to different places, you'll go to the feds. So it's just different. There are 2 different criminal systems. You would get prosecuted by, it would, instead of being the state of California versus Tommy Scoville, it would be the United States of America versus Tommy Scoville. And the first time you read that on the top of your paperwork, it will scare the ever-loving crap out of you. Anything new on Masterson and those 2 brothers? Well, there are 3 brothers. You're referring to the Alexander brothers out of Florida. These were real estate tycoons, right? Billionaires that were on the cover of all these magazines. And apparently they have been raping women using drugs to do it their entire life, going all the way back to high school. 60 plus women have accused them. There's some new stuff on that. The original accuser died in Sydney, Australia, which has caused tinfoil hat wearers around the world to go, they're getting rid of the witnesses. She wasn't even on the witness list for this case. She didn't need to be. She just kicked open the floodgates that caused this, but she was not going to be coming back. And by all accounts, there was no foul play in that. She's just someone that passed away, unfortunately. But they're looking at a lot of time. And with 60 different people that are accusing you of the same thing, if I was a betting man, I would say, yeah, we're going to go with that. Tommy, were you in prison when they killed Whitey Bulger? Yes, I was in prison when they killed Whitey Bulger. And was it witnessed? Yeah, a lot of people saw what happened. They pushed him into a cell and then tortured him. It was not a quick death for him. They cut his tongue out. I'm sorry, but you asked, right? They cut his tongue out. They stuck knives in his eyes. He was left in very, very bad shape. The person that they pinned it on was a hitman for the Italians. And if you followed the Whitey Bulger case, he was handing Italians over to the feds so that the Irish mob could continue doing what they were doing. So they had a real beef with him. Which true crime case that you have researched has shocked you more than any others? Well, that's a great question. This may come as a shock to you. The Ruby Franke case. The Ruby Franke case. What she was able to do to her own children in the name of religion is just the most disturbing shit in the world. And the fact that she watched this woman disassemble her family and was cool with it is shocking to me. No, it's called the why, because halfway there you're asking, why the hell am I doing this climb? You know, it's funny too, because we got to the top and we said, they said, if you want to hang out for a little longer, I said, is there any chance this is going to stop? They said, no. We just said, no, we're going to ski this. And it was a beautiful, beautiful, the run was great, but being above the clouds, if you've ever had that opportunity to climb above a really ugly snowstorm, it really was almost spiritual. And the guy that I was with was not a religious dude. And I said, man, is this beautiful? And he goes, it makes you believe in a God, doesn't it? Blew me away. How old were you the first time you went into prison? And why were you sent to prison the first time? I was sent to prison the first time for possession of stolen property. I was a thief at that point. And I was 39 years old the first time I went to prison, which is really old. Now, I had been in a bunch of jails, but keeping it real, and I'm not trying to bum anybody out, but if you're white, you get a lot of chances. You do if you're black too. To be honest, you're not going to prison the first time you get arrested. I know that people think that, but you don't. You get so many chances. But I ran out of chances, and they sent me there. It was possession of stolen property, which is considered an honorable crime. Nobody has a problem with that. But it was strange. I got sent in a place where I knew almost everybody on the yard because I had been heroin addict for a decade or more in that city. So when I got down there, I knew a lot of people on the yard. It was more like a summer camp for bad people than it was prison. For real, it was very soft. I didn't see a lot of violence there. I did see some, but it was nothing like getting into maximum security in the feds where it was absolutely foul. Michael McKee makes his first appearance in the Franklin County Court. What will occur? Absolutely nothing. He's going to be arraigned. It is almost symbolic. He's going to plead not guilty. That's what's going to happen. We're going to get to hear him say out of his mouth, not guilty. That's about it. It's really just, it's to show the world that they're not keeping him private, right? That they're not hiding him. This is the habeas. They're producing the body to say, see, he really is under arrest. He's in good shape. That's what that is originally designed to do. The reason that people have to be arraigned within 72 hours is because in kangaroo courts around the world, they'll charge somebody and then they'll leave them in there for 2 years and no one knows if they're alive or dead. In the United States, we usually get it done within 72 hours. This didn't happen because he was in a different state. I mean, sure, he appeared, but the arraignment had to be put off until he could get back to Ohio. That's what we're going to be looking at, not much more than that. Do you think they will convict Wendy Adelson? It's going to be very difficult, in my opinion, to work that case at all because there are so many deals that woman has cut. I mean, look at what happened when her mom was going there. She literally got a court order to keep her from having to go and help her mother. That's a twisted ass family. That's a really weird case. I pray she does. The first time she was interviewed, I remember looking at it and going, what a shame, right? That's a beautiful woman. She's intelligent as hell. And she just wasn't willing to take a divorce. She was willing to have her husband killed because she didn't want to have to deal with visitation. That's an evil family, man. It really is. The Adelsons are some of the worst. Would I ever consider doing a stream about the sovereign citizen BS and the origins of it? Would you believe me if I told you I was going to do that today? But I decided to do the Good Doctor. But I am going to be doing a show about sovereign citizens, the history of it, exactly what they believe. I will probably do it tomorrow. The show is already ready to go. It's in the can. I did all of the homework on it. So yes, good question, and that is coming. Tommy, how long before the Koberger gets prison justice? Well, there's a period of time where you're basically being evaluated, right? They're figuring out where he's going to end up and going through all of that. He's in deep doo-doo, right? There is a rule book of things that you should never do if you're going to prison. One of them is tell on cops. If you tell on an inmate, makes you a rat and a piece of crap, but they can hide you. They'll send you to a prison somewhere where everybody's a rat and where they may not know what you've done in another yard. They can send you, a couple of 100 miles away to a different prison within the state. And they can try to hide you from the people that are angry at you, right? But just keeping it real, don't hate me. I'm just telling you what prison's like, right? If your last name is Koberger, they're going to assume you're Jewish. And there's a lot of anti-Semitism in there because of all of the white supremacist gangs being Nazis and thinking Hitler was cool. It's just a tough place to do time if you're a Jew, period. Or if you sound like you're a Jew, you have the wrong last name. But he told on cops. And the cops, where do you hide someone who told on a cop? They're going to be guarding you wherever you go. So he's pissed and moaned about things like food. You don't complain about stuff like that. It's considered soft. And it also screws up the inmates. I'll give you a great example. At Lewisburg, they would bring on Wednesdays, you would get your cheeseburgers. And guys started to file paperwork saying every time we get our lunch, the French fries are cold. They just took the French fries off the menu and sent the baked potato, right? People complained that you were supposed to get 3 hot meals a day at a county jail I was at. I'm sorry, 2 hot meals a day. And we were getting cornflakes in the morning. Guys love cornflakes, but they wanted to file on it and be jerks. So you know what they did? They poured hot water on the cornflakes, and that was your hot breakfast. So inmates screw up everything. And Koberger is complaining in ways that are going to make everyone else there hate him. They're already torturing him. Allegedly, they take shifts around the clock yelling at him, telling him what's going to happen to him when he gets out of there and into general population. My gut says they're going to keep him in this kind of restrictive lockdown for a long, long time. He's not going to have a cellmate. His torture will be different than others. You're allowed to go out 1 hour a day and see the sun. If you don't, it will jack with your brain in ways you can't imagine. I promise. But he's not going outside. He doesn't go out for his rec time. He never leaves that cell. And that will start to really wear down on you. That'll drive you insane. How much do you buy into the recent documentary topic of the influence of a rogue street preacher, Michael Warnecki, on Andrea Yates before she drowned her kid? I don't buy into it at all. I don't. There are radical preachers, and there are people that are always going to be somebody along the way that was a catalyst. She was suffering from some very serious mental illness. And, we say in rehab that when the student is ready, the teacher appears. That can go in the wrong direction too. When your brain is ready to snap, someone's going to show up and be the Charles Manson for your delusion. And I don't blame the street preacher much. I don't buy into that. Makes for a great subject, though, doesn't it? Stupid question, but I'm asking, were you scared the first time you went into prison, and did it get easier since you went again? Yes, I was terrified the first time I went to prison. Absolutely terrified. Didn't Whitey Bulger snitch on feds? Yes, he did. Whitey Bulger knew he was going in to get killed. That's the story that they tell on the inside. People reached out to him and said, because he was hiding out on yards that they couldn't get to him, they said, you're going to put in for general population, or we're going to start killing family members of yours. This is what everybody on the inside said happened. And it makes a lot more sense, because there's no reason whatsoever to ever take him off PC. But they took him off PC and put him in an active yard, a vicious ass active yard very close to Boston. So he was going to his own death to protect his family, or that is what the fellas inside were thinking. Yeah, the first time I went to jail, I was more scared. I went to a very, very rough jail the first time I went. And I remember standing, they made everybody get naked, and they said, follow the red line. Now, these laws have been changed. They don't do this anymore. The Prison Rape Elimination Act gives you a little bit more dignity. But you'd spend 2 hours, walking down this red line, every guy naked, women walking by, cops, all this, and you just had to sort of deal with it. And I was young, and my lips started to do the quiver thing. And this black cop yanked me by the arm and pulled me out of line. And he goes, hey, what's your problem? I go, nothing, man. And he goes, are you getting ready to cry on me? I said, no, sir. And he goes, oh, are you afraid someone's going to rape you? And I just sort of looked at him, and he goes, when you get back into that line, look to your left and to your right. He's like, you're the biggest dude in this line. He's like, everybody's worried that you're going to go after them. But when you're in there and you're terrified, you don't look at people and go, I'm bigger than him. You think these people are hardened criminals, and I'm just some dude that came in off the street. But you learn quickly that if you show any kind of fear or intimidation, they can smell it on you. Like if they feel you're intimidated, they're going to play you. So you just sort of have to put your chest out. And you hear stuff like, what you do is the first person that looks at you crooked, or you pick the biggest guy there and you punch him in the face. If you go up and punch the biggest guy there in the face, he's going to kick the shit out of you. It's not an effective way to do time. Your best bet is to keep your head down, do what you're supposed to do, and not take any crap from anybody. And that sucks, but it's kind of how you have to do it. It's the rules were established before you got there. Do I miss skiing? Yeah, I do. Here's the thing, though. I'm kind of an idiot, and when I go skiing, I do things I shouldn't do on skis. I act like I'm a lot younger than I am, so I'm a lot safer not doing it. But I miss it. There's a lot of video of me out skiing I can watch, and I'll call people and talk to them about things we did. I've been in some ski films, and so it's just, yeah, I miss it, but I'll be all right. It's I prefer the sun these days. Do you think Karen Reed got away with murder? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Karen Reed was not trying to kill him. That was put on by a police department that wanted to protect some people that killed that guy in the basement. And I'd be willing to bet. I'd be willing to bet, say, if they could just tell you the truth, guaranteed, you were in a room alone, I'd bet you 10 years off of my life at $5,000 that's what happened. He was killed in that basement. That's my humble opinion on that. Why, thank you, Lisa Smith. You know what? I have come a long way. I really have. And I was blessed with the people that I ran into. Q was and is one of the greatest people I've ever met in my life. And God only knows, literally, God only knows why he decided that it would be a good idea to help me. Happy birthday, Kristen. Would that be Kristen Melinda? Hold on, let me back up here. It is. Johnny Scoville says that is the rumor. Happy birthday, dear Kristen. Happy birthday to you. Super mod. Yeah, that's awesome. Somebody put a 2 up there. Let's put a deuce so that everyone can say we appreciate what you do. Because Kristen Melinda is one of the hardest working mods in all of YouTube. And she's almost a circus freak. If I say, hey, do you remember this? She'll pop up the video I did on it before I finish my sentence. Have I followed the David and Celeste murder case? I have. I've done 1 show, maybe 2 on it. And the reason that I'm not running with it the way everybody else is because I'm waiting to hear what they do. So there was a grand jury. We think of grand juries as a way to indict people. They're also a way to force investigations beyond what can be done by a police department, compel people to show up and answer questions. And allegedly, there have been some questions answered by people that said, I knew that body was in the trunk, but I didn't think it was my responsibility to report it. If that person knew the body was in the trunk, I figure we got to be looking at an indictment coming soon. And I think David's going to be knee deep in the middle of it. And we will be covering it. It's a fascinating case. It's also a case where they put a security hold on that, the same way that they did on the Nick Reiner case, which I find fascinating because lawyers then made videos saying, this is unprecedented. I've never heard of a security hold. Are you kidding? There's between 100 to 200 done every single year in California. In prison, is it considered rude to ask another prisoner why he is in there? Yes. There must be some prisoners who want to keep what they did a secret. Do they get aggressive if you ask them? When they come in the door, they have to provide paperwork saying why they're there, but they don't have to pass it to everybody on the tier. They have to deliver it to the shot caller, right? And if the shot caller is not in your unit, then you have what's called a pod boss or a pod father. He is the rep for your unit. He's like the shot caller, one rung down from the shot caller. And you have to prove that you're not a sex offender or that you're not a rapist. You're in there for what is considered an honorable crime, which is funny because, right, the doctor will have an honorable crime. He shot a woman, and a man, that's not considered dishonorable. And again, I've talked about this a lot, but if you can say to yourself, okay, I can see that. Doesn't mean that you would do it, but you can say, okay, this woman ruined his life. He got really pissed off. He kept going through his head about it, and he went and killed her and her new husband. It may not be something you would ever do, but you can understand why someone would do it. What you will never find is a convict that goes, well, yeah, no, I mean, he was feeling kind of randy or horny, and he decided to grab a girl off a playground. No guy's going to go, okay, I can see that. And if they can't say, okay, I can see that, you're probably in some trouble. What is a shot caller? It's not shock, but shot. They call the shots. They order who's going to die. Shot caller is different. That's something that they put on in jail. That is, I mean, in a court, and they really do have these. Sometimes they're up here, sometimes they're on the leg. But it is it's the ability to give somebody a taser shock at a distance. So if you start acting the fool in court, they can just, zzz. No vitamin D for people that are locked up like that. Hi, Tommy and everyone. I'd like to know if you'll do more lives with Johnny. They're super fun, and clear bond between you guys is fascinating and beautiful to watch. We are working on getting some new equipment here so that I can do that more often because all of you are asking for it. There's a lot of people that want that, so I will do it. Crook Dixon, good to see you, brother. Glad that you made it. 20-inch blades on the Impala. Good reference. Da-da, shot collar. 20-inch blades on the Impala. The movies have been made about shot collars. There's a lot that has been sort of made about that. Everybody that, find anybody that does this kind of content, and they'll tell you that they were a shot collar on a yard. I was not. I was not. In fact, I was asked to be a rep in my unit once and said, I'm not doing that. And the shot caller said, oh, but you are. And I hated it. I didn't want any part of any of that crap. But if an inmate, let me finish that question though. Once you're in there and they've checked your paperwork, your cellmate is very likely to say to you, hey, what did you do? Now, they're not going to ask you for details and all that, but they want to know who they're in the room with sleeping at night. They'd like to know that your crime doesn't offend them, right? While the inmates on the yard may not have a problem with you shooting your ex-wife and her new husband, your cellmate might. And it doesn't mean he's going to attack you as soon as the doors lock. It means that when the doors unlock, he's going to go down there and say, hey, you got to get this guy out of my cell. I'm not cool with this guy's crime. You need to get rid of him. But as far as living with a weirdo, a child molester, a rapist, something like that, they're not going to be on the yard that you're on unless you're already a freak, right? Those people are sent more often than not to yards that allow that to happen. Because I was an idiot, I ended up on yards that had a much higher custody level. I punched a guard in the face. Not one of my brighter moves, but it tainted the rest of my federal career. So I ended up on some ugly yards. You're right. God did give me another chance. And it was funny because my mother's a lifelong believer, and she used to say, God's got something in store for you. And I would go, yeah, it's probably another prison sentence. But I am absolutely blessed, and I'm blessed beyond belief, which is why I try to help people that are in the same kind of situations that I was in. Did you hear Subway? Jared Fogle is getting out soon. I bet he had a fun rip, huh? You know what's funny? I was going through, I've told this story many times. I was going through Oklahoma City, which is the transfer center for Con Air. Like you probably saw the movie Con Air. The planes don't look like that. They're just regular, 737s, except they're white. But you pull up and the walkway comes out like you're going into an airport. You walk out, you're in prison. And you're there for 2 days, 3 days before they put you on a bus to go local or to put you on another plane to go to a different part of the country. So Jared Fogle was in at that time, and he had been in he was in Colorado at the Florence compound, right? The Florence compound has camps, FCIs, women's prisons. It has a Supermax facility, and then it has the administrative detention facility, the ADX, the Supermax, right? That everyone's familiar with. So what ends up happening is that I am in there in this transfer center, and a guy came up and they were talking about Jared Fogle on the television, and the guy went, I punched him in the head, knocked him smooth unconscious. And we all just turned and looked at the guy. And you can say anything you want in prison. We don't have the internet. We can't look stuff up. And I don't know, maybe I'm a jerk, but I went, did you know? He said, yeah. I go, geez, you're the fifth person that's told me that story. And he goes, yeah. He goes, how long have you been down? I said, about 7 years. And he goes, how many people have put money on your books? This is like your bank account in there. And people can send stuff to you, right? But stop it, squirrel. People can send you money that you can shop with. And he said, how many people have sent you money since you've been down? I figured Johnny, my sister, my parents, my girl at the time. I said, 4 or 5. He said, come over to the computer. And he pulled up his books, and it was $5, $10, $10, $100, $50. I'm talking about 150, 200 names, because TMZ actually put the picture of the ID of the guy that punched him up on the screen. And the whole world figured out who this guy was, and they just started sending him money. He really was the dude. So after he left, I asked a cop, I'm like, did that guy really punch out Jared Fogle? He said, smooth unconscious. He said, he's a rock star. Even the cops love him. But he didn't, he'll get out and tell you he did soft time. No one ever wants to get out and say, I was tortured the entire time I was in. You're never going to hear a chomo or a piece of shit get out and say that. But the last yard I was on was called Sheridan. It was in Oregon. It was a go-home yard, lower custody. And when I got there, I said, hey, I'm going to go ask somebody for some coffee because my cellmate didn't have any. And I started walking toward the first row, and he goes, oh, no, go over there. I said, why? He goes, that's Chomo Row. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, we got weirdos on this yard, but they all live right there in every unit, that first set. He's like, so don't interact with them or whatever. But if they were on the phone, people would walk in and hang it up. Go get out of here. They would take the phone and start to make a call on it. No respect. They had nothing coming. They had to eat standing up in the chow hall. I promise you they don't do easy time. I was in Allendale. Man, what a sweet yard. 5 acoustic guitars every day. I got 30 a week to cook wine in my locker. It was a dog and cat yard. Whoa, that is too funny, man. Cooking wine, $30 a week. I had a wine hustle going for a while. Did you talk about the Barbie and Ken murders yet? No, but that is coming. That is the case out of Canada, right? This is Carla Homolka and Paul Bernardo. And in answer to the earlier question, that's probably the second most disturbing case I've ever done a deep dive on. You know, if you guys, I'll tease this a little bit so that you guys will come and see it. But this is a serial killer couple. One also was the Scarsdale rapist. He had raped so many women and gotten away with it, but he upped it, right? When he married Carla Homolka, the two of them started to abduct women and film themselves raping and molesting these girls and then killing them at the end. And they did it to Carla Homolka's baby sister, right? Underage girl. She gave her sister to her husband as a Christmas gift so that he could take her virginity, and they ended up killing her. It is a horrific story. And spoiler alert, Paul Bernardo is going to die in prison. I promise you he is. However, Carla Homolka is free, right? She has kids. She's walking around. She picks her kids up from school. It's terrifying because she was an absolute stone cold psycho. So yeah, and they called it the Ken and Barbie murders because if you saw them, I mean, damn, they looked like they had everything. Very, very attractive couple. Anne-Marie in Canada. I'm glad you were doing that case. She has, she's out of prison. Been out for a hot minute. You know what? I would love to get Venmo. Maybe I can work on that. It's difficult where I live to get Venmo, but maybe I can figure something out. Thank you for the support, Ruth. It really means the world to me. Ruth, why do I keep saying that? It's Run the World, but it looks like Ruth every time I see it. Run the World, thank you. It means the world to me that you do this. These things make a big difference, people. Believe it or not, they really do. They're really disgusting people, Janet Jacob. And the other thing is, one of the cops that worked on this is he works out of the behavioral department in Canada, which is like our profilers at the FBI. And he is a rock star. He is without a doubt, the greatest interrogator that ever lived. If you watch interrogations and you're into it, the Russell Williams interrogation, that takes place there. By the way, we'll knock this one down too, or maybe I should tease it. But the Russell Williams, right, who was running an entire Air Force base and flying around royalty, who was also a serial killer and a creep, went to college at the same school as Paul Bernardo at the same time. And there are some urban legends or urban myths concerning them hanging out and doing things together. I've chased all that down. I won't tell you. I'll tell you to watch it. It's coming up soon, I promise. But I will be doing the sovereign citizen stuff. It's astounding to me how many people believe in the sovereign citizen movement, that these laws actually will work. Here's the deal on that. Spoiler alert. There has never been a sovereign citizen case that got to the Supreme Court. And people go, how is that possible? Because to get to the Supreme Court, like you hear people go, I'll take this to the Supreme Court. You got to take it first to the first court. Then you have to go to that court of appeals. Then you have to keep going until you get to the Supreme Court. There's no merit to anything that these people say. There just isn't. So everything gets thrown out. And I have a big, long show on this. It should be fascinating. Will anyone want to be Nick Reiner's cellmate? Amazingly, there will be a lot of people that would like to be Nick Reiner's cellmate. It really is. Thank you again, Run the World. It's a fascinating thing but there's something about bunking with somebody that is famous or that has a famous case that, I didn't bunk with him, but I spent a lot of time around Drew Peterson, and people are fascinated by the fact that I knew him. Another quick story. Did I ever get into the John Benet Ramsey case? Yeah, I have. I think her brother did it too. I'm sorry, but I think her brother did it. And I think most logical people believe that. You're right. The only time sovereign citizen cases get dismissed is when the arresting officer couldn't make it to court. Karen Dahl, thank you so much. What a cute cat, too. Will I be following the Long Island serial killer Rex? Yes, I will. Absolutely, I will. I can't stand Drew Peterson either, and I spent a lot of time with him. Here's another funny story, though. Funny, not funny, haha, but funny, terrible. So I was in a county jail with a guy, and the cop said to me, look, man, there's only one cell in this unit, and nobody wants to live with this guy. He's crazy. And I went, oh, man, take me to the hole. And he goes, no. He's not going to come after you or anything else. He goes, just has a bad reputation. I said, for what? He was the Walmart shooter in Reno, Nevada. He was the Walmart shooter. They called him Wally was the guy's nickname. But I went in there and was talking to him. I got him for a cellmate. He would only eat apples. He wouldn't eat anything else. He was crashing like no one you've ever seen. But he just got to doing this one. And he wouldn't shut up. It absolutely drove me nuts. I only stayed 5 days. I told the cops, if you don't get me someone else, I'm going to have to hit this guy. He won't shut up. I can't sleep. It drives me absolutely insane. But while I was in there with him, hey, Pete Taylor, good to see you. He tells the story of, he said, yeah, I am doing the Will Smith story. I promise you. I'm waiting for the book to come out because I'm going to nail that. But I'm in there with this guy, and he says to me, I feel bad about shooting those people. He used to work at Walmart. He goes, a lot of them were friends of mine. And he said, it wasn't even my first, screw up like this. And I go, what does that mean? And he said, do you remember a hostage standoff at the Motel 6? And it was on the Motel 6 of a road that I lived on. No, I didn't live anywhere near it. I lived 10 miles down the road. But I said, yeah, no, I remember that. He said, that was me. This guy takes a woman hostage at a Motel 6. There's a standoff for literally hours and hours on end, right? He finally surrenders. They take him into custody. They hold him on a 72-hour or a 1-week psychiatric hold. When he gets out, they hand him back the gun. That's the gun he went into Walmart with and shot those people. You talk about a lawsuit that should have happened. I mean, holy hell, but no one ever heard the story. But it was a fact. They gave that dude back his gun, and then he went and used it at Walmart. Shame on them, man. Shame on them. Yes, I was watching Reese. I lurk whenever Reese is live. And I love that Reese is standing up for herself. It's a difficult thing for me because I don't do that kind of content. And I don't try to insert myself, especially into what she does on her show, right? I have had enough hate come at me over the course of the 4 years I've been doing this that I have found that it's better to not answer, right? And if so, to do so in a way that doesn't bring more hate. But I respect what she's doing. I respect the class that she's doing it with. And so many lies have been told about her that it is absolutely disturbing. And the guy in question, I'm not trying to get into a pissing contest with him. He wouldn't get in one if I was standing in the room with him. I promise you that. He's a coward. He's really tough if you got on a mini skirt and pumps, but he's not too tough when there's dudes around. My take on Jay-Z is I don't think anybody in that industry that has that kind of a position is not a scumbag. I think that Jay-Z has probably used his influence to force people to perform for him sexually if they want jobs. There's been a lot of stuff that has come out that really just seems off, but those are opinions. You know what I mean? Those are opinions. Have I heard the stories of midnight productions in the Arizona area? I have not, and I hate when that happens, but I will absolutely look into that. In fact, we'll do this. because this is always the easiest way for me to do things. It is just easier than trying to go back and take notes later. I'll just take a picture of that because I would be fascinated to look into anything along those lines. What a 72-hour hold and the gun returned. Yeah, is that not nuts? They literally gave this man back a .40 caliber pistol that he went into Walmart and shot people with. That police department should have been sued. And you know what's crazy? When he tells me this story, I was engaged to an attorney. And when she came in for a visit, I was like, you're not going to believe this. And she's like, don't tell me that. I can't do anything about it. You know, you can't go to those families and say, I heard something you need to know. That's it's not legal. It's ambulance chasing. And there are all kinds of laws about things like that. I'd love to hear you do a show about false confessions and how that happens. I may have, but if not, I will do another one. The West Memphis 3 is a really great example of that. One of those three guys, I'm not picking on him, but one of those three guys was not as sharp as the rest of them. He had some real deficits, and they steamrolled that guy into a confession that was just not real. And the number of fake confessions that happen in the United States, I've told the story before, but somebody confessed to a bank I robbed. Because with his criminal record, if he went to court on it and he lost, he was never going to get out. So he literally said, yeah, I'm guilty. And he did it for a crime that he didn't commit. And I know he didn't commit it because I committed it, right? But that's kind of the country that we live in. It's a bad thing. Any thoughts on the Banfield case and that's happening right now? It's not a case that caught my attention the way it has other people, Cricket. So I haven't followed it to the same degree. Here's my thing. Like currently, I used to do anything that everyone else was doing in true crime. Now it's kind of got to resonate with me. You know what I mean? And like the McGee thing, that's a fascinating case and it resonates with me. It's the hubris of people. I think that there's comparisons that can be made between this doctor and Koberger. Koberger was a criminologist, right? Working on a PhD, thought he was all that in a bag of chips, and he was smart enough to pull off the perfect crime. He didn't have anything against these people. He wanted to pull off the perfect crime. This doctor, I think, thought that he could do this as well. That's why he didn't get rid of the murder weapons, why he didn't get rid of the silencer. These kind of stupid geniuses fascinate me. So those cases right now I'm really kind of hot on. The other case that I think is going to be fascinating, and I'm following it quietly, is the David and Celeste case. And if you have been following that one, there's some controversy right now about him personally making tour shirts. And you can see him with gloves on putting handprints all over these shirts. It's not usually how tour shirts are made, especially if you're going on a big tour, right? You hire companies that do all that stuff for you, unless you're trying to put a victim's blood into a shirt. And that's the theory that's currently going. I don't know if it holds water, but it does seem a little odd. It also seems odd how preoccupied he was with death and with caskets and putting people in trunks. Like the more you research that, the more that it just looks really, really awful, right? It just plain looks awful. Now, since we are waiting right now for someone else's next question, listen to this, please, and listen carefully. No one is going to disappear. Anytime somebody gets out on bail, anytime somebody tries to get out on bail, when Diddy was in the process of getting convicted, there were people that would leave me comments that said, it's not going to be him going into jail. It's going to be a body double. People, you got to get over this stuff, right? For real. We got to be a smarter group of people out here. Ain't nobody doing time for anybody else and getting away with that, right? You do mouth swabs, right? You do a different DNA swab at every jail you go to in the feds. Every prison you hit, they do another DNA swab. You're not just going to get somebody to sneak in there and figure this out. You might want to go back and watch the show I did on that. No, they're never going to find her. If what Drew Peterson told me is the truth, they're not going to find her, right? Drew told me that she had been cremated. So I don't necessarily think that that's going to happen. But don't believe, or people say, like if Timothy Busfield is out now, he's just going to disappear. No chance in hell. How do you disappear? I was a nobody. You can't disappear. This isn't the day and age where somebody can disappear. It's impossible, especially if they know who you are. It just doesn't work that way. Can't use credit cards, can't use money. How are you going to access any of your stuff? They pick you up like this. There's cameras everywhere. It just will not happen. What's the most positive insider experience that you brought out of prison with you? Honestly, there are so many things. There's a great T-shirt. Has Danny Masterson tried to file an appeal? Absolutely. He's got all kinds of appeals trying to go. Danny's going to do his time. They did a great job prosecuting him. He's going to do his time. There's a great T-shirt that says the 10 most important things I've learned in life I learned in prison. And one is like, keep your room clean, right? Don't let the place that you live look like, let people think you're a slob. Respect people, right? Say, excuse me, say, please, say, thank you, right? Just very, very, people assume that, it's got prisons like you see in the movies where, you walk by and people are bumping you with their shoulder and scaring the hell out of you. That stuff doesn't happen. Everybody is very, very nice until they're not. There's massive amounts of respect, even among the races that don't like each other. Massive amounts of respect because everyone's kind of trying to keep things going. Don't look at things that don't belong to you. If you're in a unit and you hear people punching the hell out of each other in a cell, nobody's eyes go to look at it, right? If it isn't your business, stay out of it. Those kind of things make a big difference. The other thing is there's a line that every single guy has that you can't cross. And if you don't know what that line is for you, whether you're in prison or out of prison, then you're not going to have a decent life. You have to be able to set up those boundaries. I think that Reese is doing that now. I think that's beautiful. And how she sets up hers should be completely her decision and her opinions. And I think she's doing a hell of a job at it. I really do. And I know there are people that want me to make a video about her attacker. It's not what I do. And I'll tell you something. I got dirt on the dude, but it's not what I do. I don't talk about content creators. I would be happy to beat the piss out of them. That's far more up my alley, but making a video about people is just, to me, it's destroying the big red button. I completely understand why she is doing what she is doing. And I respect it. And I support her wholeheartedly. But if you're holding out for me to do a video on the guy, I'm not gonna. If I was going to, I would have done a video on him when he was on his way down and swirling around the drain. When he gets thrown in jail, and I think that's probably going to happen, people may scream for me to do something, and we'll see what happens then. But that would be more of a jail show type of thing. Do you feel completely safe where you live now? Oh, good God, yes. With regards to the person who made your life miserable, is she still harassing Reese and her family? That isn't the person that made my life miserable. That person's just a miserable human being. But no, there's a group of people that made my life miserable by calling the police and doing all of that. Yes, here I am. I live in a completely different world and I don't have to deal with that crap, which is lovely. Even if you could get somebody on the phone down here, they'd go, he filled out the paperwork. He's cool. He's one of us. Like, that's really all it comes to. They don't have time to be wasting with stupid shit like that. There's other things that they need to take care of. The more advanced the culture gets, you've written every law you could write. So now you got to come up with 30,000 new laws a year that are just invasive as shit, right? So you get pulled over by a cop. First thing they do is they want to search your car. They want to pull you out of the car. None of those things happen outside of those ultra developed civilizations where you give up your rights. It becomes very intrusive. And those Fourth Amendments and all that things kind of go away, sadly. And that's what I experienced. Do prisoners like Trump? You know what? I'm the wrong person to ask because I was in there when, at the time I was in there, yes, they did. Whether they do now or not, my gut would say yes, because everybody claimed they were going to do something about passing a First Step Act. Every single president that's ever been elected talk about reforming the federal system, and he was the first one to do it. So my gut says that they're probably pretty happy about that, but it's hard to tell. How common is diesel therapy? Like you wouldn't believe. It happens every single day. You piss off the feds, they can stick you on a bus and have you sit on that bus for a really, really long time. They call it diesel therapy. They'll ship you from one place to another. You sleep in county jails. It's miserable. And it happens all the time. I did a little myself, right? If you hit a cop, you're going to do some diesel therapy. Are these suggestions also for women's prisons? Because we are different and nosy. Women's prisons are different for a lot of reasons. Number one is this. Relationships between two women in prison is accepted. Relationship between two men in prison is not. And that creates a whole new dynamic of jealousy and all kinds of other stuff. And when you talk to women who have done time with that, they say that the most dangerous thing is if somebody thinks that you're after their girlfriend. That's not something that is going to be a very dangerous thing for you in prison. So it's a little bit different, but there's a different set of politics and rules in there that are different, but they're still making wine. They're still moonshining. They're still tattooing. They're convicts. They're just female convicts. Now that I've been in Ecuador almost a year, anything you have found that surprised you or you find hard to adjust to? I mean, I'm surprised every day at how much kinder people are outside the United States. And I'm not trying to bust on the country. It's my country of birth, but we're a mean society. We really are. the ultra lack of respect for anybody in authority has been fostered now for an entire 8-year or 9-year run, which is about one generation, right? So to see people get pulled over, I watch it on YouTube, and someone gets pulled over and they go, all right, I need to see your license registration. I'm not giving you any of that. I mean, try that here. Try that anywhere else. They'll pull you out of the car and be like, and if you just hand them the stuff, they're going to go, oh, okay, listen, you shouldn't be doing this, this, and this, and they let you go. They're not writing you tickets. It doesn't pay off for them to do that. But the utter lack of respect and the lack of respect for authority, I never thought, if you could have told me that there would be a time in my life where I would watch YouTube videos and I'm rooting for the cop, right? I never would have thought that that was a chance, right? But I absolutely am rooting for the cops in every one of those encounters, because the arrogance, or the people that go, I didn't give you permission to touch me. Are you shitting me? Right? You're under arrest. They're going to put handcuffs on you. You don't need permission for that, right? That, to me, that blows my mind. I agree. I live in Mexico now 3 years. People are so nice. There isn't that systematic hate. And the funny thing is, the hate isn't black against white. It's not gay against straight. It's not all the shit they tell you on the news. It's just that we're all so sick and tired of people telling us how to live that the hate just seeps out. No one has any patience for anybody else. Mean people are mean here. Yeah, people are mean. And I live in SoCal. There you go. Southern Cal's beautiful, right? If it wasn't for the people, right? And there's a lot of places like that in the U.S. Basic civility is gone, says Cowgirl in the Sand. And a lot of people will say to me, this is, they start to talk about these things and they'll say, but we're a lot safer in the United States than you are in Ecuador. Like, we heard about this, this, and this. Okay, you're saying that living in Southern California. If you were living in Kensington, right, in Philadelphia, or if you were living in the South Side parts of Chicago, or if you were living in places in New York where if you see video of it, you go, that can't be America. Skid Row, right? Places where everybody's walking around looking like zombies. That's the reality of a lot of places in America, and every country's that way. Where I live is as safe as any place I've ever been. Like, I would not walk around my last hometown at 2 a.m. Never. I could walk around the peninsula at any time of day and feel safe. It really is just beautiful. Well, I can see that, Cricket. Nobody should ever have the ability to put hands on you unless they have the ability to put hands on you. But that whole, listen, you need to call a supervisor because I don't feel safe with you. Tough shit. You broke the law. You're going to get out of the car. I'm going, tase him, use your pepper spray, right? Because there's nothing like seeing somebody get pepper sprayed when they deserve it. If you go to Dearborn, Michigan, you get to read street signs in Arabic. Something wrong about that. Well, language is a big thing. How are things going at the recovery center? Well, trolls have basically made that untenable. They have gone out of their way to try to convince everybody in this country that we were just trying to con people at that recovery center. And the sad thing is, and this isn't for clout, right? This isn't for anything like that, but that new wing on that center, my brother and I built. Not with any donations from you guys. We set up so that all donations went through PayPal. But if you listen to the things that people say, they never set up a PayPal account. They're taking money in themselves. We never took any money, anything. In fact, we donated a hell of a lot of our money to build that center. But they didn't kick us out of there, but we decided to leave because the truth of the matter is, if I'm going to help anybody, I better be really quiet about it, because the vermin that treat trying to destroy a person's life as a sport are going to try to hurt people I care about. Right. And this is, I should have seen this coming. Sadly, I did see it coming and we warned them about it. But once it started to manifest itself, I don't want anything to happen to that center or to those guys. And these are the kind of scumbags that take joy in destroying anything that I like. Right. Which is sad. The U.S. citizens are so entitled, not the country I grew up in. It's ridiculous. That's right. It is not the country. Yeah, I don't feed them my energy. I don't talk about it. As far as I'm concerned, it's funny. Somebody reached out to me a while ago, and it was somebody from back then, and he's like, "Oh, I bet you forgot about me, right?" Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, "Who the hell is this?" It took me, honestly, an hour to figure out that this was somebody that's been hating on me for 3 years. And I literally forgot who they are. I don't watch content that people make about me. I don't buy into any of it. One of the best pieces of advice I got, I should have listened to a long time ago, but just do what you do, right? I have fun talking about true crime. This is kind of a wheelhouse for me, and I really dig it. So if I had just kind of got back to what I was doing, I'd be in a different place right now. So now what I'm doing is I'm staying focused and doing what I do best. This is kind of my wheelhouse. I enjoy it, and people seem to really like it. It's even worse when the U.S. citizens go to other countries that speak different languages. The entitlement and rudeness is, it is unbelievable. It really is. And if you fail trying to speak it, they're very happy about you trying. And I do that all the time. I fail very successfully. You're right. There are a lot of places in the U.S. that have been given. And here's the thing. I don't want to ever turn this into a political show. I don't. And then I will have people ask me about things that you kind of have to comment on. That shooting that took place with ICE, they drove across state lines to break the law. When I broke the law, I went to prison. If I tried to hit a cop with my car, I would assume I'm going to get shot. It's just that simple. And what I find amazing is these are the same group of people that were literally dancing in the street when the right-wing people got one of theirs shot in the neck, right? For having the balls to just have a conversation. This person aims a car at a police officer, gets shot in the neck, and all of a sudden they had kids, right? So did Charlie Kirk. Didn't seem too pissed off about that, right? The other thing is that people don't seem to put anything to critical thinking. Listen really carefully, just in case you didn't get this memo. Your First Amendment right to free speech, you can go on and say, I'm so glad they killed Charlie Kirk, right? He was a scumbag. He's a bad person. I'm so glad that he got killed. You have the right to say that. You're protected to not go to jail for being an asshole, right? You can even use the N-word. You can say whatever you want and not go to jail for that. That is your protected speech. Your boss can say, you're not working for me anymore. You're a jerk off. And everybody in your life can go, we're done with you. We're not talking to you ever again. Those are called consequences. And the First Amendment doesn't protect you from the consequences of your speech. Walk up to an NFL football player, right? Say a pulling guard, a guy that's 300 pounds and can chase you down faster than you can run, and call him the N-word and see what happens. Your free speech is protected. He's going to beat the piss out of you, right? Your consequences are not protected. You're going to have to live with that. That's another thing. You know, people say that blacks and whites don't get along in prison. So you would assume that they're in there calling each other names. They're not. There's a level of respect between the groups that don't get along that would blow your mind. That would blow your mind. Why is it breaking the law to drive over state lines to commit a crime? Just curious. Well, here's the deal on that. It's the law doesn't change. It's you're breaking the law. That's the state. But if you travel across a state line to do it, then it becomes a federal offense, and the feds pick it up. Right? That's when it changes dramatically. Once you start crossing state lines, it becomes a federal offense instead of a state crime. Right? So if you watch Con Air, the serial killer, they make a point of saying that he drove through 13 states with a woman's head on his, wearing his head like a hat, because serial killers don't end up in the feds unless they're doing it in multiple states, right? Diddy was flying people across state lines, which is why it became a federal offense. It's blessed. I'm glad you're here. You're more than welcome. I must watch Sheriff Grady Judd. If you want some stupid criminal entry, I watch Grady Judd all the time. I've been watching him for a really long time. I feel like the data centers are across state lines, and it's RICO. The incredible thing is this. The data centers are recording all of your text messages, all of your emails, and all of your phone calls. There is no flying below the radar. There is none of that. It's all being recorded. And you say, well, how is that not a violation of the Fourth Amendment, right? To protect you from illegal search and seizure. And what happens is they don't get to look at it unless there's a court order. But it's in there. I promise you. It is absolutely in there. You can look this up. Bountiful, Utah has got one of the biggest storage spots for all of this. Brock Bandy says, let's get the likes to match the people in here. That would be really nice. Hit subscribe. Hit the bell for notification, right? I'm going to be going live a lot. These, especially for something like this, I'm not going to make any money on these videos because you've got to kind of clickbait. I talk about true crime. So if the subject matter doesn't mention true crime and a specific true crime that they want to hear about, no one will see it. But these are the most fun shows to do because it gives the people that are actually taking the time to make this channel grow an opportunity to ask any questions that they want. I think that's kind of a cool thing. By the way, hats off to all of you because I don't censor my speech, which means the algorithm doesn't push me the same way. And I know this. It's not a shocker. But I'm growing anyway, and I'm growing because you guys are hitting that hype button. You guys, I had hundreds of shares last week, hundreds. I didn't get hundreds in months in the old days. And the number of you that are sharing my content and hyping this, it means a lot to me. And this is going to be the first month, and I don't know how long, that the boat's going to have grown by about 1,000 subscribers. And that, I'm telling you, that puts a smile on my face and a little lead in the pencil. Any thoughts on that crazy Nashville RV bombing a few years back? The way that went down was wild. Anytime something like that happens, I start going, what in the hell was that? It happened on a holiday, right? I can't remember which holiday it was, but it happened on a holiday. It was a bizarre crime, man. It really was. Thank you, Lovejoy. I appreciate that. The cheap chick. I'm so glad I found your channel. Believe it or not, you relax me. You are the second person in the history of man to say that. The other person thought they were talking about a different Tommy. Regarding Fed and state prisons, heard state conditions are horrible versus feds. No, I'll be honest with you. I've done both times. It just depends on what prison you end up at. There are some state prisons that are really ugly. If you end up at Lewisburg, or you end up at Lompoc, or you end up at one of the older prisons, those prisons were built the same time as Alcatraz, right? When they were shutting Alcatraz down, they built Lompoc, Atlanta, and Lewisburg. So they were built in the 30s. There's another one in Terre Haute I did time at. Really, really old facilities. They're nasty. The buildings are nasty. The wind blows through them. But in the state, you get all kinds of help, right? Do you think the Uvalde chief getting not guilty this week was right? No, I'm not sure that I do. But we could do 4 hours on that, right? I think I could very easily make an argument for either side on that, right? I really could. RV bomb was 2020. There was a tape recording played through the loudspeaker. Yeah, that there are so many of them where you go, what the hell happened? I would want the prison with all the cats. They don't do cat and dog programs in the feds. Unfortunately, they don't. But I have been at a yard that allowed cats on them. It was a state facility, and it wasn't a cat program. They just had a door that was open, and strays started to come in there. And they would sell disposable kitty litter trays at store. They would sell cat food at store. And we had a woman come in and take over the prison. She became the new warden. And she took away the musical instruments. She took away all of these different things. Like when I first got my cell, I was in a cell house. So they were literally bars, right? Only time I've ever done time where there were bars. But when I first got it, the cat came with the cell, right? Also, I had an oriental rug right in there. I had a table with a lamp, because it had been open for so long that anytime they shut something down and the stuff was supposed to be thrown out, an inmate would smuggle something back, and it just went to the next guy who got the cell. They came in and took all of that away, and we just kept putting up with it. And then finally they shut the door because they said that they weren't going to allow the cats inside anymore. And the shot caller just started screaming. He was like, we're burning it to the ground, right? Start lighting mattresses on fire, start throwing the toilet paper out there on fire. And when the warden came in to talk to us, everybody shuts up and one guy speaks, with shot caller. And he said, you're going to open that door back up so that the cats can get back in here. If you've rounded those cats up, you better go find out where they are, because we will burn this place to the ground. We will destroy this. Nothing you will be able to do will stop us. And she tapped out. We didn't get anything else back. But they opened that door and let the cats back. And honestly, it was the easiest time I ever did. Having a cat is an amazing thing inside. And people always, every time I tell this story, people go, aren't they afraid the inmates are going to hurt the cats? Good God, no. Right? Are you kidding me? If anybody did something to the cat, the entire place would destroy them. And I don't mean they'd kill them. I mean, they would take a week or two to kill them, right? That would be the kind of thing that they're just not going to allow somebody to do, right? One of the reasons that they get pissed off if a guy does something to a woman or a child is because men in prison who feel that they're kind of alpha anyway, feel like you're just picking on somebody that can't defend themselves. Animals can't defend themselves. Older people can't defend themselves, right? Not in the same way as a convict or an inmate could. So if you do something, then there's going to be it's going to get ugly. It's just going to get ugly. Why do they choose such terrible leaders? There needs to be, if you're talking about within prison, not all of them are terrible. I had one, I shouldn't put the guy on blast, but I had one shot caller that was absolutely a genius. He was one of the smartest guys I ever met. And he did everything within his power to make sure that that place ran smoothly and that there weren't all kinds of fights and things like that. Some of them are just sick SOBs, but you have to go through a hierarchy. You work your way up from the bottom to the top. It's very much like the mafia. And most of the shot callers have bodies on them. They've killed people. So it's kind of earned, so to speak. My son had a cat for almost a year. An asshole CO got rid of him. Yeah, it's a great way to get killed, honestly, for a CO. there was a CO at the last prison I was at that had a cut from here all the way down. I said, God, what happened? They cut down a tree, and there was an old guy there that had been doing a ton of time there, and there were chipmunks living in the tree. When they cut the tree down, the guy freaked out and tried to kill the cops that did it. So the animal thing, they get pretty serious about. Jen, thank you for spending time with me, and I appreciate the support. It means the world to me. Tommy, you asked me to send you emails regarding the watches I'm dealing with here. Did you ever receive them? I don't receive emails anymore. I think what I said was send them to Quibs. I literally have shut down my email stuff. It just got to the point where if I was going to remain sane, I would love to be able to take emails from the people I like. Unfortunately, that means taking emails from people I hate. And that whole process was driving me insane. And there were people that no matter how many times you put up a boundary, just ran across it. And you would get hundreds of emails from the same person over the course of a month. And it just starts to, you start feeling like it's almost stalking, and it's creepy as hell. And I wanted to be able to continue to do this. So if you had sent it to Quibs, I probably would have seen it. But I honestly, and I hate that I had to be this dude, but I don't get emails anymore at all. And I shut down Facebook. I shut down all of my social media stuff. Stephen Paddock or anything on Las Vegas. Paddock was the shooter, correct? Thought criminal. Phil, I know the name, but I get so many of these things going at once. This is the guy that was the alleged shooter in the huge shooting that took place. I was inside for that one as well. Thank you. I appreciate that, Cricket. Stephen Paddock is the shooter, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, allegedly. That whole thing stunk. It really did. If I were a family member of somebody that got shot down there, I'd be going after the casino in ways you can't imagine. I lived in Nevada for a long time, and their security rivals anything on earth. I knew guys that walked into casinos and got popped within a couple of minutes of being inside there for having a pistol on them, right? They didn't have to go through a metal detector. They didn't have to do anything. They have ways of knowing what's going on inside those that are incredible. But somehow he brought duffel bags like a scene out of the friggin' Matrix. He managed to get all of that up the stairs and in there for the shooting. I don't know that I buy it. That whole thing to me smelled really, really bad. It really did. There's not a lot about the Vegas shooting that makes any sense to me at all, especially just from the casino standpoint. Apparently, he was able to bring all of that stuff allegedly up in the delivery elevators, the one that the employees use. That's another thing that doesn't really happen very often, right? Those require keys more often than not. Why, thank you, Neutralizer. Well, and you know what? Here's the thing. This is going to sound awful, and I'm not trying to. If you're somebody listening and you think he's talking about me, I might not be. So don't take this. But when things went bad, a lot of the people that loved me on a Monday hated me on a Tuesday, and a lot of them are back and loving me again, and that's a beautiful thing. So what I have determined to keep you sane, because that kind of roller coaster could drive a person completely batshit crazy. So what I have done is I have decided that right here, I will trust everyone, take them at their word. We can be the best of friends. I trust everybody here. When I leave here, I trust Johnny Scoville. I trust my girl. I trust my cats. It's not a lot of people I trust once I leave here. And that's not to say anything bad about any of you. It just is that we live in a world where trying to destroy content creators is a sport. And it's easy to destroy a content creator who's a great person. Look at what they're trying to do to my ex. She's got no criminal record. I was a scumbag, right, for a very long time. So I'm an easier target. So I kind of got to be careful. Going back to work, Sinstar, I'm proud of you. The fact that you're going to work in general just makes me happy as hell. He is a survivor that has been down very similar roads that I have. If you've never hit subscribe over there, shame on you. You will thank me later, especially if you're trying to remain sober. This is a cat you really ought to have on your subscriber list. I had a guy show up to deliver a washer who had a teardrop tat under his left eye. He said he did 10 years. What does that tear mean? It means he didn't do 10 years. A teardrop tattoo means that you killed somebody inside. And if you killed someone inside, you're doing more than 10 years. Most of the people you see with teardrops are BS. And sometimes you'll see one with the guy's got 3. But this is a true story. I've told it on the boat before. I was getting a tattoo in a tattoo shop on the street. Most of my tats came from prison. But I was getting a tattoo on the street. And there was a guy sitting in the chair next to me getting a teardrop tattoo. Now, you don't get those on the street, right? That's something that you get in prison. And I said, hey, not my business, man, but what's up with the teardrop? And he goes, my girl broke up with me yesterday. and I'm doing this to remember it. And I looked at the tattoo artist who looked at me and went, like, he's paying me. And I said to him, do me a favor, stay out of jail, right? Do everything you can to stay out of jail. Because if you get in there and tell that story, they're going to remove that tattoo. And they're not going to send you off for laser tattoo removal. I saw a kid, poor kid. He was 18 when he got there. And he had a death head. This is the symbol of the Hells Angels. And he picked it off of the wall at a tattoo shop when he was young. And he got that tattooed on his hand. And they removed it with a belt sander. It's a tough way to get a tattoo removed. But you got to be really careful the stuff you put on because those tattoos tell stories. You know what I mean? But yeah, that's what a teardrop means. And that teardrop under your eye that you got in prison because you killed a guy. Sorry. Can't sing that song. I promised Reese I wouldn't. Tragic it took so long to figure this out. The only people that can hurt you are people that you trusted or come. Yeah, it's true. And sadly, that is the truth. You miss Squirrel too? She's around here somewhere. I don't know what Squirrel Nut Zipper's doing. SNZ. Come here, little snot. She really is a little snot, though. I love your stories about Bobby Hill. Do you know what became of him? He's on the street. That's the only thing I can tell you is that I looked up Bobby Hill, and he is no longer in prison. He was, you know what? You think the worst of prisoners, and you think the worst of prison, but our unit adopted that kid in a way that kept him safe because if you're different, prison can be a really, really tough place. And Bobby was, they used to use the word idiot savant. It's not a term that people use anymore, but he could memorize anything. He was a tough guy to play cards with because he knew every card that was played, and people just took him under his wing. No one was going to let anything happen to him. I watched him playing spades at a table with a bunch of different races, which is not usually a good idea. But as he's sitting there playing, a guy throws a card down, and Bobby went, "You played that card already. You played that card 3 times ago." And I mean, he could take decks of cards, and you show them to him, and then put them back up. He would know every single one of them, right? Literally every single one of them. So the Bobby Hill thing was fascinating because he is. Hold on one second. He is. Everybody there knew that the guy cheated. Bobby doesn't make mistakes like that. And he doesn't lie. He didn't have the capacity to. Honest to God, he didn't. People would ask him questions that you would lie to. You know what I mean? Like just embarrassing stuff. And he just wouldn't lie. He didn't have the embarrassment gene or any of that. But he was just very, as a matter of fact, she said, "No, you already played that card." And when the guy got up, he's like, what are you saying? Everybody just sort of moved toward the table. "We're saying you're cheating. Sit your ass down, right? You do something to Bobby and we're going to kill you." And I was fascinated. The first time I met him, he came up, he's like, "What do they call you?" And I went, "Rock." He was like, "Paul?" He couldn't. Took him like 4 tries. I was like, "R-O-C-K, bud, Rock." And he goes, "Oh, Rock." And he would repeat it 2 or 3 times. And he walked away. I was like, "What the hell is that?" I said to the guy with me, he's like, "That's Bobby Hill." He's like, "He just got here. He's different." But I watched him go back and forth to the chow hall, and he knew the name of every single person on that yard. He memorized 1,300 names, and he probably did it in 3 days. He was gifted in so many ways and just deficient in others. He had called the White House to tell him that he was going to eliminate Obama, and then he was going to go after Trump once he took office. Like for real, he was. And they threw him in prison for it. It's one of those things where, man, if you could sit down with someone like that, you could go, he's probably not a danger, right? Like this there are some Forrest Gump qualities to him, in spite of the fact that he is an incredible intellect in terms of memorization. His processing wasn't quite the same. You know what? Squirrel is starting some ish on the internet when you're all sleeping. Yeah, no, Squirrel's crazy. She is, and she runs this place. I sometimes refer to her as a furry little Reese. What happened to that Casper guy? I think you did some time with him. I did do some time with him. He is a content creator. I will leave it at the fact that he decided that he did things in ways that we didn't do it on the inside. He heard things that he thought he believed about me, and instead of making a phone call and talking to me about it, he just decided to start firing at me with every gun. And then he started to say things that were just patently absurd and made up at whole cloth. And recently, people have reached out to tell me that he's nodding out on videos. I don't watch him, and that's the truth, whether you believe it or not. I don't watch anybody that has made a video about me. I just don't do it. So I don't know, but people are saying that he's struggling. I hope that's not the truth. I want nothing but the best for the cat. Believe that. I mean that wholehearted. The Watts case has been on the internet again lately. Do you think he seemed guilty the first time you saw his porch interview? Unfortunately, by the time I saw that video, I already knew that there was something off. I didn't catch that the way everybody else did, right? Sadly, by the time I saw the first interview, I already knew. So, but I think I wouldn't have bought it. Honestly, there was something off about that dude from Jump Street, right? Thank you, Lovejoy. I appreciate that. I really do. There was something off about Watts from the word go. I'm fascinated. I really am. I'm fascinated by people that think that they can get away with stuff like that. Like you're having affairs, right? That people just assume the police are just stupid, right? They're not going to go and take a look at your phone, see everybody you texted with, right? Where have you been? They're going to look and see where your phone is gone because it's a blueprint. It's literally a roadmap to everything you've done. They're going to look at every single place you went. How does somebody like this think, well, I'm having an affair. I'd rather be with this woman than the other one. And I'm just going to go, kill my entire family. He is the literally the personification of evil. All right. Cricket, you have a good night. And I hope that, can we get a 1? Everybody put a 1 up there for Cricket so that she has a peaceful night's sleep. Everybody has days like that. My day started like that, people. I won't lie to you. Watching Ree stand up for herself actually did wonders for me. It was fun to watch that. And I lurk because if you're in love with somebody and they get in your chat, it changes a little bit of how you do what you do. So I think that we end up lurking in each other's chats often. But that one really helped me. He's an evil guy. I'm always blown away by somebody that thinks it's easier to kill your entire family than get a divorce. I mean, like, how do you run that through your head and think that it's going to be okay? And how do you take your kids? You have to, and I'm not trying to bum anybody out, but this was the question. By his own admission, as he's, eliminating his kids, the other ones are asking him why he's doing it. You don't snap out of that. It's an absolute crying shame that they can't just put this guy out of our misery, right? And they should do it by feeding him into a wood chipper feet first. There are deaths that are too humane, right, for people like that. What he's done is so unforgivable, right? You like to believe that evil doesn't exist, and then you see stuff like this, and you go, "That literally is the personification of evil." The Ellen Greenberg case. I'm trying to remember the Ellen Greenberg case. I know the name, and I can't think of right now. Do you think Pam Smart should be let out? The boys influenced who killed her husband have been out for ages. I'm glad that I don't have to make those decisions. But for a guy that's done time, I thank you, by the way, Run the World. Thank you for your support. It means the world to me. Somebody remind me of Ellen Greenberg. I know the case. Just somebody bring me up to give me one sentence so I can remember exactly which one it is. No, I don't think Pam Smart should be let out. And I know that this is probably weird for a guy that did time because there's nothing sadder than being incarcerated. That said, I don't have a huge heart when it comes to, the Ellen Greenberg BS. Thank you, Barbara Wade. It was said that she committed suicide but had a bunch of stabs in the back. Anytime something like that happens, don't you say, okay, who is covering this up and why? Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. It is the worst. Trolls are one of the worst segments of humanity. They need to have someone troll them to show them how it feels. You know what's ironic is that I've seen that happen where people start to turn on them, and it's amazing how fast they disappear, stop making content, because it's a lot of fun seeing it happen to other people, apparently, but it's not so much when it happens to you. Truthfully, I mean, if you've done any time in prison, trolls probably aren't going to really take you out. I'm free. They're not going to do too much that can bother me. It was really an issue in the U.S. because it crossed lines. When the police show up at your house for the most ridiculous stuff in the world. Yeah, Shapiro. I'm sorry. What was that thought criminal? I thought the worst thing about Chris Watts was that one of his daughters had a boot print on the top of her head. That's correct. And there was also another one on a chest. This is the kind of scum that makes you believe that evil exists. Here's the thing with guys like that. They're going to spend the rest of their life terrified that the cops are going to pop a door at the wrong time, that somehow they're going to accidentally put them in with a cellmate. Like, that's how they spend all of their time. If they have to go to the law library to look something up, they're looking around, praying that door doesn't open. And you think to yourself, well, does it happen to Jeff Dahmer, right? They can only protect you until they can't. And then once they can't, it'll be over really quickly. And if you've ever seen the movie Groundhog Day, where you're living the same day over and over and over again, right? The Bill Murray character decides he's going to rob a bank truck. And he goes, okay, bend over, tie your shoe. Okay, you ask him a question, not too bright. And then he drops the change. And as the guy's picking up, he walks up, picks up a bag of money and just walks off with it. That's prison. That's prison. You got nothing to do all day long, but watch how guards do things. Watch how they transport this guy. And there are people right now going, the first time I catch him slipping, I'm going after this dude. The first time I catch them slipping, I'm gonna attack this dude. There are people that are willing to trade the rest of their life to make him pay for what he did to those kids. Tons of them. Tons of them. You know, you're instantly a rock star in prison. And whether anyone wants to admit this or not, the cops are going to treat you better. The inmates are going to treat you better. The guy that ends up hurting him badly or killing him, the cops are going to treat him like he's royalty for the rest of the time that he's in there. You know, sneak him a cigarette, a little chewing tobacco, whatever they can do to make the guy's life a little bit easier. Why? Because every cop in there wants to kill him. For real. There's not one cop in there that isn't disgusted by the fact that they have to keep Watts safe. He deserves anything that happens to him inside. You know, he's just, but there is prison justice, man, and it will happen. I promise you it will happen. Yeah, that Greenberg case is disturbing, but, you know, we see these kind of things all the time. I was talking about it in the Jeffrey Epstein case. The guy that hung himself, they found him hanging from a tree with a shotgun wound self-inflicted to his chest. You want to explain to me how the hell that happens? As you're hopping off the stool to hang yourself, you got your big toe on the trigger of the shotgun. Just in case that doesn't snap your neck, you're going to shoot yourself in the chest. I mean, how does anybody put this out to the world and go, that's a suicide, right? That's them literally going, we'll do whatever we want. There's nothing you can do about it, right? The RFK assassination isn't any better. What today, you can look up the autopsy photos and they're stippling, right? That means that the gun had to be this close, right, to the back of his head. He got shot behind his ear by a guy standing 3 to 5 feet in front of him named Sirhan Sirhan. Does that make any sense? The whole world knows that's bullshit, but we just put up with it. Every day we get up, we go about our life, but that absolutely was done. You're finally back at work after 3.5 years. You're at Costco. I love that, Carolina, Canada. Congratulations. And I'm glad to hear that you were on the mend. That is fantastic. And you know what? If I had to work somewhere, I love Costco, man. I used to go up there. My dad and I he'd call me and go, you want to do the Costco brunch? We'd go up there and walk around in circles eating the stuff they'd put out there, take 2 or 3 trips through. They say, this is for the plebes. Yeah, I'll tell you something. Oh, there you go, Johnny Scoble. I thought the worst. Yeah, this is, hey, it happens, right? Ian Watkins got what he had coming. This is the guy from the something poets. I can't remember the name of the prophets, Dead Prophets. Ian Watkins, Run the World, was a rock star of sorts, like an alt rock band called the Dead Prophets, I believe was the name of the band. And he had more child pornography on his phone than any 70, people convicted of this. He had terabytes of information. And he was in the process of trying to talk a mother into allowing him to molest her 16-month-old. Like, this was evil incarnate. And they put him in prison, and the fellas got a hold of him. And the first time they got a hold of him, they held him hostage for a while, beat the piss out of him, but they were able to get him out of that situation. The next time, he was not so lucky. And somebody put steel in him. They killed him. And it was not painless or quick. But he got justice. Now, for those who say, you know what, but Jared from Subway is going to get out. Jared from Subway has bad wiring. He is a child molester, right, and a pedophile. And this guy is going to reoffend. They can't not reoffend. They can't. It's bad wiring. This is a guy that is going to do this 100 to 200 times over the course of his life. Now he has the federal government watching him. He is going to be on a babysitting list for 5 years. Might even be 10. I'd have to look up his case. But he's on probation, which means he has to go to sex offender classes. He's on a sex offender registry. If he changes his address, if he tries to get a job, like those, it's very invasive. And I would predict that he's going to screw up and get caught, right? I'm not giving anybody a pass. Bad wiring is bad wiring. But according to science, so just picture this. Think of yourself right now in your head. You're married, you have a girlfriend, you got a boyfriend, whatever. If I said right now, tomorrow, you have to stop finding that gender attractive. you'd go, I can't stop that. Now, you might be able to stop acting on it, right, if you really want to be a human being. But this is bad wiring. They're attracted to minors. By the way, if you are attracted to minors, take one for the team. For real. Maybe put that shotgun on your toe and hang yourself at the same time. That is the kind of thing that, honestly, if I woke up tomorrow morning and found myself attracted to a 7-year-old, I would not see bedtime. I would take myself off of this planet, because that is absolutely just no way I would be comfortable living. But Jared from Subway, he'll get found out again. I promise you he will. He's not a guy that's going to go back to living a normal life. Normal for him is that. He's a sick bastard. He really is. He's a very sick guy. But Ian Watkins is dead. Oh, no. He died a really rugged death. Oh, no. Right? He got stabbed. He got tortured. He got beat, whatever. Couldn't happen to a nicer dude. Right? Could not happen to a nicer dude. By the way, Ellen Greenberg was a beautiful woman as well. It's kind of a crying shame that these kind of things, but it keeps getting back to the fact that they think we're stupid. The fact that they think we're stupid. I know I promised there's a Marilyn Monroe show coming up. You know that they have, I have heard tapes of ambulance drivers who took Marilyn Monroe to a hospital that night in an ambulance at 10 o'clock, right? There are logbooks that say that Marilyn was taken to a hospital at 10 o'clock. They didn't save her. They put her back in the ambulance and brought her home. This stuff's not hard to research. It really isn't. I mean, it took me a couple of weeks, but you will find this. The tapes exist. Right, there are literally logbooks that say they drove out to her house, picked her up, took her to the hospital. Then they brought her home and put her in bed. So there's a cover up of some kind, right? Whether she killed herself and we'll get to that in my show, but whether she killed herself or anything else, there's a cover up. And why is there a cover up? Because she was banging the president and the attorney general. Right? This is not a good thing. But we've been covering stuff up in the United States forever, right? Forever. Oh, wow. You know what, Alicia? Thank you so much. Honest to God, thank you so much. This, folks, is why you can do shows that you know people aren't going to see, because I got an audience that's just absolutely incredible. And this, to all of you, to everybody that supports me, even if all you're supporting me with is a thumb up, Alicia, this is over the top, and it really does help keep this rolling. But to those who are hyping it, to those who are hitting the thumbs up, hitting the subscribe button, it will keep me running and gunning. By the way, I have had multiple people reach out to me and say they want to do collaborations. I'm not going to do one ever again. And I'm only telling you this in case you're recommending to people that they reach out to me. I'm not going to do collaborations again. I like doing this the way I do it. And I don't want to have to curb what I say. I don't want to have to feel like if I give them my real opinion on this, it's going to hurt their show or do anything like that. This is liberating. It's one of the reasons that I'm proud of Reese and what she's doing. She's doing what is perfect for her. And I think that if you're running a channel, that's what you have to do. I sold my soul during the Diddy stuff. I was going on channels that had 1 million subscribers. I was working for a channel that had 1 million subscribers or 900,000. And he's a great guy, right? Surviving the Survivors. Joel's a great guy. I don't have a problem with any of those guys. But if you're sitting on a panel and you hear somebody on the panel say something that's just bullshit, you're not going to say on that panel, that's bullshit, right? Because you're going to screw the guy's show up. If somebody says something in my chat, I'll call them out on it. And having the ability to do that is I can do that and not have to go do collaborations and all of that thing, because you guys are hitting the subscribe button and the like button and you're sharing this out. It allows me to say rape. It allows me to say suicide and talk about murder and not have to say, he unalived the person. No, he didn't. He shot him. He killed him. Shot him with a gun. Gun had a bullet, right? It's liberating to be able to speak the real language and not feel bad about it. And it's all of you, every last one of you. Alicia, thank you. Boy, that's humbling. It really, really is. That is humbling. Ellen Greenberg looked like the woman Monique who was just killed. The difference is, and don't anybody crap on me for this because I'm not crapping on the dead. They had a very different mouth, because I remember the day that it happened thinking she looks so familiar. But the Monique's smile is unlike anyone's I've ever seen. She looks like she has 5 more teeth than anybody I've ever seen. She just has this like massive smile. But yes, they do look a lot alike. Hey, come here, you fatty. That wasn't Squirrel, That was the big white cat. She needs a saddle. She really does. She puts on about 1 pound a week. That's a frightening cat. Those, if you've never seen a Maine Coon cat grow, it's absolutely fascinating. If you watch the old videos, the old shorts that we made of Squirrel and Katy Perry wrestling around and fighting, Squirrel was so much bigger than Katie. Now Squirrel is about half the size of Katie and still beats the crap out of her. Squirrel is a stone cold gangster. She really is. There's like no other cat. Squirrel is a gangster. But yeah, there are some very serious similarities in the appearance between Ellen Greenberg and Mo, right? Monique Tepe. Apparently, she called herself Mo. What a tragedy that is. Here's the other thing. Someone asked earlier, what kind of stuff do you notice is really the difference? The crimes that happen down here don't make you sick. Now, I know that may sound crazy. Someone's going to put something in the chat that says, I heard they were putting heads on beaches. They were putting heads of drug dealers, right? And cartel leaders, and they're fighting amongst each other. Not drive-by shootings and the kind of things you see in the United States. It is gang-on-gang violence. And I'm sorry, but I do the, oh no, right? It's different when it's this senseless kind of stuff where you go, this guy spends his entire life becoming a vascular surgeon, gifted as hell. He's got the whole world in the palm of his hands, and he decides to go kill a woman that he divorced, 8 years ago? I mean, how does that make any sense? How do we live in a world where this makes sense to anybody? But one of the things you find if you live outside the United States is when you hear certain crimes that have happened, like even what happened to Charlie Kirk. I was down here for that. And, they just, it doesn't make any sense. The head kind of goes like a brown lab where they look at you like, how could that happen? Why would it happen? It doesn't make any sense. West Coast Fancy Nancy, good to see you. There are 50 people here who have not put their DNA on that like button. Weird. That is weird, isn't it? Is there an epidemic of narcissism or is it just more media? I don't know the answer to that. West Coast Fancy Nancy, I am sorry to hear that. I hope it's about to get better. I think that we live in a society that forces people to be somewhat self-centered, right? Social media. What is the point of social media? In theory, it would be fun if it was, well, I can look up old friends and it gives us the ability to communicate without having to, to write letters or do things like that. And we can send videos and I can just sort of stop in. I don't even have to say hello, but I can see what's going on in their life. Hello, Cliff Ann. But that's not what's going on, is it? Right? You're not looking in on their lives. If their kid just got sent to rehab, they're not putting that on Facebook. They're going to show you their vacation to the Bahamas, right? With everybody doing great. They don't mention that the daughter just had an abortion and that their youngest son just failed out of school and they've got him on, he's now in his 5th rehab. We put our best foot forward and we use filters and we do all of these things because now it's about an image, right? Now it's about, the most beautiful version of yourself that you can put out, even if it happens to be bullshit. And I think that fuels narcissism. Now picture this. As a little kid, my mom and dad, thank you again, Alicia. You're absolutely amazing. I mean that. When I was a little kid, my mom and dad took tons of pictures of me, right? Playing football, doing skiing, like anything we were doing, they were taking pictures and they would put them in photo albums. And those photo albums still exist. I have a nephew. He's my niece's son. So what is that? He's I'm his great uncle or something like that. I don't know. But anyway, I'm not joking you. I bet there's 900,000 pictures of this kid already. And I don't think he's 4. They take pictures of this kid all day long, every day. Everybody's got a camera on him. Everybody's got a phone on him. He's the cutest person in the world. He really is. I love him. But does that do something to you? I mean, the fact that every 10 seconds someone's taking a picture of you starts to make you feel like, well, you are just a little more special, aren't you? And I think that we live in a society and we have all of these tools. These things will turn someone narcissist, even if they didn't start as a narcissist to begin with. It just kind of feeds into that. I happen to believe we're going to get to a point where people back off of the social media. It's like anything else. After a couple of generations, it's going to be like, that's the stuff my parents are into. And there are going to be people that eschew that stuff just to piss off their parents, because that's kind of how it always works, right? You have to do something that's going to bum out your family, whatever that, form that takes. If they're liberal, you'll be conservative. If they're conservative, you'll be liberal. But you have to, everybody kind of gets to a point where they're like, my parents know nothing. They're all stupid. Without that, we're not really, it's not part of that whole human experience. My sister used to raise Maine Coons. She had an award-winning one who even in advertising, and she says they are truly dumber than a box of rocks. I wish Reese was here to hear that. Reese thinks that Katy Perry might be a pinch dim-witted. I don't think she's dim-witted. I think she's clumsy to beat hell, but she's a very intelligent cat. The thing that freaks me out about Katy Perry is that she watches TV. I'm not joking. Not everything, but she'll sit on the couch and look at the TV, and you're watching her like follow the characters. It's fascinating to me because Squirrel doesn't give a rat's butt Like what's going on with hey, squirrel, get in here. Spoiled little thing. Oh, you going to come over? She's going to go get her. Did you hear that little trill? That is very uniquely Maine Coon. It's a sound that I've never heard other cats make. It's when she wants someone to play with her. It's like almost a meow, but it goes brrr. It's like a little, they call it a trill. It's a very unique sound, and I love it. I live in Central Valley. However, I was born and raised in the East Bay. All right. The city on the bay, right? They built this city. So I will be doing these. I don't know if I'll do them every Tuesday, but I think these are important because there are people that are just kind of getting into true crime. And the more you have an opportunity to come and ask questions, and there really are not any dumb questions, I'll be honest, this is a pretty intelligent audience when it comes to true crime. That said, if you're just getting into it, just pay attention, right? You're going to hear a lot of stuff. And there are certain things that will be the same in every case. For instance, appeals do not decide whether or not you did it or didn't do it. That's what the case does. That's what the trial does. That's what the jury decides. An appeal says you didn't follow the rules of the Supreme Court of the United States of America while trying to convict me. You're trying to get back in front of a panel to see if you can get a new trial based on this should have been done this way and it was not. And the U.S., Mims versus Pennsylvania says this, this, and this. It's about precedents. It's about them not following the rules. It's not about whether or not you did it or not. That's not what an appeal is. Diddy is not going to win an appeal because the judge in his case, Rune Subramanian, was a beast, stone cold beast, did everything right, didn't do anything that they're going to be able to question. Diddy's going to do his time, plain and simple. Ragdolls are also awesome. I knew someone that had a half-breed Maine Coon cat, and Ragdoll was just one of the most beautiful cats. Although all cats are beautiful, let's be honest. There's no such thing as a not attractive cat. Now, I mean, we have to be honest. Certain cats are more attractive than other cats. For instance, torties are hands down more beautiful than any other cat. It's not an opinion. It's a fact. In fact, it's been litigated all the way to the Supreme Court, and 9 out of 10 intelligent people who were surveyed said that the most beautiful cats on earth all happen to be tortoiseshell cats. In fact, when pressed further, most mention squirrel by name. I'm just saying. Squirrel nut zipper, come here, man. What are you doing? Lazy? Forget about it. Oh, you know what it is? So I have a cabinet in here that's like 15 feet tall, and she's going to be on the top of it right now. And she's too lazy to come down because that means she would have to jump back up there. But I'll make sure that she's on tomorrow. I'll lock that door so she can't get to that part of the condo. She's gotten quite spoiled, people. I need to find a new basket and get it set up, but I'm working on that. In fact, if you give us about a month, you're not going to believe what this looks like because we're actually turning this place into a cat house. And before you leave a mean comment, I mean, we're decking this out specifically for the cats. So like shelving, wheels, the whole deal. All of the things I always wanted to do my whole life, but every girl I was with said, no, you're not doing that. This isn't for cats. We're styling it out. We're putting cat hammocks in the corner so that they can go up there and hang out above us. Doing a lot to really style them out. This is they already think they own the place, so why not? Right? Calico cats are gorgeous. Technically, to be really honest, those squirrel nut zipper is a calico, right? She just happens to be a tortoiseshell calico. Yeah, your Shih Tzu turned 3 today. Watch your mouth. No, congratulations. That's awesome. You know what? I would like you to see my cats too, but they're both being pistols at the moment. Katy Perry. Come here, KP. Who's a good kitty? You know what? The squirrel is so jealous that if I can get Katy in here and just start petting her, squirrel just shows up and gives me this look like, why is your hand on that cat? Like she's serious about it. Katy Perry, come here. Who's a good kitty? Forget squirrel, Katy. You come over here. I don't get her. You should do that to your apartment, Karen. You will. Your cats will thank you, and it'll be fun. I'd like to actually, when we get it all decked out, we would like to keep some cameras on it full time, so that you guys can see what they're like when we're allowing them to just be cats. They and one of the questions I get all the time is, do they really just fight all day long? And the answer is, yeah. About 70% of the time they're awake. They're chasing each other around, tackling each other. They don't scratch each other. They don't, draw blood or do anything like that. Once, when we first got Katy, she got squirrel underneath the chin, and it was a good one. It was about that long. It was nasty. But that's the last time it happened. Right after that, they just don't do it. My Torty, Keiko, has a type. She loves tall, dark, and handsome men. She rolls around the floor for them, and when they go to pick her up, she smirks away and says, meh. Yeah, that sounds about right. Jay Riddle, I love that. That sounds about right. Hey, would one of you come in here? You're making me look stupid. Katy Perry, Squirrel Nut, come here. Who wants a treat? So bad to do that. It's so bad to use the T word if you're not really going to give it to him. I'll just have to give him one when it's over. Who wants a treat? By the way, research giving your cat a raw egg. Don't do it too often, but research giving your cat a raw egg. It's amazing. It changes their fur. It's almost like, come here, SNZ. Come here. Who's a good kitty? Yeah, you heard that T word, didn't you? You little snot. Look at what I got. She knows the T word. Yeah, camera shy, she's not. She's just, now she's going to go up there and see if I've actually put a T-R-E-A-T. You can't even spell it because she's really, really intelligent. You've never seen Squirrel? Well, there she was. Squirrel, come here. Hey, where's your dumb sister? Shh. She's a good kitty. What about giving it to your dog? I don't know. Honestly, I spend way more time studying cats than dogs. Here, if you just got here, when I decided I was going to get a cabin cat, right, for the boat, and I was going to go out and adopt one, we had a contest to see naming the cat. And there were all these different, but they came up with Squirrel because I don't always stay on subject, right? Squirrel. You remember that from the cartoons? So they thought I should name the cat Squirrel. It's a true story. I swear to God, I can document it. But I went in to adopt a cat, and I saw SNZ, and I went up and put my fingers through the cage. And this guy walks in, he's like, don't put your fingers in the cage. It's lucky I didn't hit him. I'm like, man, I'm trying to adopt a cat. How am I going to do that if I don't touch the cat? But she came over and she sold herself. There's a short of it out there. You can actually see it as it's happening live. But I went out and I said, hey, I want the cat in the third cage. I want that one, the third cage. And the guy said, there's like 50 rooms. Third cage in what room? He's like, listen, just go on the top and take the card off. It'll have the name of the cat. Bring it up here and we can start the process. So I went and pulled the name off the top, and the name was Squirrel. Swear to God. Didn't have to change the name. It's still on the papers. I never had to change it. She is Squirrel. And then I started calling her Squirrel Nut, and that sort of evolved to Squirrel Nut Zipper and then SNZ. But Squirrel was named by God, as it turns out. You know, everybody voted to call her Squirrel, and when I got there, her name was already Squirrel, and she's such a sweetheart, aren't you? He's a good kitty. She's looking at me like, you got me up for this. 115 out of 172 have hit the like button. Well, that's impressive. Actually, I'm pretty happy with that. But if you haven't hit that like button, do it. You know what? It burns the big red button. We'll keep saying exactly what we want to say, and you guys are pushing it out in spite of the algorithm. That's a beautiful thing. It really is. I am laughing out loud. So glad I'm watching tonight. Thanks. Right now, trying to prepare my home for a 22-inch snowstorm. You know, there was a time in my life where that would have been a party. I agree. Torty's the best. Miss my Sasha. Now I have a tuxedo that has me questioning. You know what? I love tuxedo cats. Johnny Scoville has a thing for tuxedo cats. But to be really honest, I've never met a cat I don't like. How old was Squirrel when I adopted her? She was 6 months old when I adopted her. She was, and I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be disrespectful to my girl because I love her more than anything. But if you could have seen the other cats, every one of the other cats looked like it came off of a postcard. They were all this big, super teeny, perfectly symmetrical and everything. And then there was Squirrel. And the two people I was with went, oh, you're kidding. What's wrong with that one? I said, no, man, look at that Torty. She's amazing. And she did not cry on the way home in the car. She didn't freak out about anything. Squirrel understood it. And you know what? I was recently out of a cage. It made a lot of sense to me. But I got in the car and I opened the box and just put my hand in there, and she just made love to it, rubbed her head against it. We've been super tight from day one. She's the most strong-willed animal I've ever seen, but she is absolutely. Oh no, who is that? Who is that? Security. Security. We're not eating any of that damn surströmming, people. Oh, you know what, though? Listen, if you've never seen the videos of my brother and I eating surströmming, then go and watch it because you'll laugh harder than anything you've ever seen. The worst smelling fish on planet Earth, and Johnny and I ate it, and it is very funny stuff. or if you watch the video of us trying to drink a gallon of milk, we did some challenges to help build the channel. All of them are very funny. They're funny for you because you weren't the one that had to endure it. Not so funny for me. But Squirrel is an ex-con too. She most assuredly is. And just a sweetheart all the way around. She really is. She's a good kitty. There's some really funny video of her climbing all over me. When I'm walking around this house, she will jump from the floor onto my shoulder. And then I got to put my arm out like this so that she can ride me around. And she'll stay like that until I just can't hold her anymore. She's really, hey, Shane, good to see you. That's Papa 73. Now I know. Good to have you here, Shane. Glad that you are here. Yeah, she's a very unusual animal. Animals pick you. You don't pick them. I believe that wholeheartedly. And Squirrel definitely chose me. She, the way it all went down was just, was kind of amazing. And I have so much film of her. Like the first time she does it, it'll scare you so bad you have no idea. Like I'm in the bathroom trying to shave and she just appears on my shoulder from the ground. That's a hell of a jump. But if I try to do it with Katie, I'd have to go to the hospital. Katie's got to be 21 pounds now. And according to everything I've read, she's got another 1.5 to 2 years of growth ahead of her. I don't want to see anybody vomit from that fermented fish, please. Well, then you might want to avoid our video because there might be just a little of the technicolor yawn that takes place during that. Will Squirrel and Katie get along with Reese's pups? Well, we'll find out. I don't think they would have any problem getting along with the cats. They certainly would get along with Bo. Bo is just such a beautiful animal. He really is. Bo loves animals, just super kind to everybody. Well, I'm glad that you're here, man. I really am, Shane. Glad that you're here with us. It's been a while since we've seen Squirrel, and she's looking great. She really is. She looks fantastic, don't you? Come on, don't look at me like that. As soon as I'm done, I'll get it for you. That tone of voice, man. She looks at me like I'm not the smartest person in the room. And she's probably right. Whoa! Hey, can we get a congratulatory tray? Congratulations. That is fantastic, Shane. 8 months sober from alcohol now. Winning, that is the most important thing that anybody has said here today. I promise you. The rest of it, we talk true crime and we do fluff, and this is without a doubt worth celebrating. That is awesome. That really is. That is awesome. That's winning, right? I say this all the time, but you get past that 90 to 120 day mark. I love you too, man. You get past that 90 to 120 day mark, rinse and repeat. You know how to get through the bad days. The first 90 are the worst, right? So now it's just rinse and repeat. At this point, literally, it's just a matter of continuing to do what you're doing. Winning. I think Charlie Sheen said it best, right? Winning. Well done, man. That is awesome, Shane. It really is. You made my night. All right, people, I'm going to go give this cat a TREAT because I'm afraid of her. I am. Just saying. Plenty of reason to be, right? I fall asleep and she wakes up. You don't want her really angry at this, at that time of the night. So I will be back. I'm going to be doing this at least once a week where I can ask you can ask any question you want. It doesn't have to be about true crime. It can be about life. It can be about anything. And I will answer it within reason. But I'm pretty wide open. There's not much left to hide at this point. But I would like to shout out every single person that, getting through Christmas. That's a great point, Woodman. Getting through Christmas without booze really is a huge thing. Shout out to Will, to Run the World, Anne-Marie in Canada. Thank you. Karen, thank you. Jen Feinberg, I know she's already left. Lovejoy, thanks. Run the World again. And Alicia, the generosity of you guys is absolutely incredible. It puts a lump right there in my throat. It really does. It's so much fun to be back doing what I do and having a good time with it. And I'll make you a promise. I'm not going to make the mistakes that I made the last time. We're going to stick to stories that I can chase down and actually document. And we're going to talk about cases that people will look forward to. If you have an interest in the sovereign citizen movement and what those deluded folks believe, I will be doing a show on it tomorrow. And by the time it is over, you will at least understand the concept behind it. Joe Marie, 25 years sober. You could almost say one. I know they say you never say that, right? You're never cured. Guess what? I am. Sorry. You got a better chance of seeing God in sunglasses than me, doing heroin ever again. It's just never going to happen. No chance in God's green earth. And I know they say you never say never. Listen carefully. I will never put a needle in my arm again, ever. It will never happen, ever. I love my life. I love everything about it. I used to do drugs because I didn't love my life. Now I love it. I really enjoy it. And if things were to go bad, I just get right back to doing exactly what I do, which is focusing on who I am, journaling, taking time to work on the things that are important in this life that don't have anything to do with trying to make pain go away by the gram, right? Figure out why the pain is there and it will magically go away. What a kind thing to say. But congratulations, Shane. I am proud of you in ways you can't know. All right, people, I will be back tomorrow. Please stop in and check it out, right? You'll thank me later. There's especially the deep dive on the sovereign citizen movement. I think you'll find it fascinating. And by the way, I don't care if you're Canadian. I don't care if you're from Australia. The sovereign citizen movement has gone all over the entire world. It's not just a U.S. thing anymore. That's something we can be proud of. We don't just have our craziness. We've been exporting it all over the world. I am Tommy, folks. I will see you tomorrow. Thanks for your support. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit the bell for notification. You'll know every time I go live. And hit that thumbs up button. It really pisses off YouTube. I'm Tommy. Love you. We'll see you on the next one. God bless.